Good morning. I now call to order the April 6th Administrative Briefing and Work Session of the Marion County School Board. Please silence your electronic devices to avoid disturbing others. And mirroring and modeling how our students begin each day, I ask that we pause for a brief moment of silence, please. Join me. Thank you. Now, I will ask the school board attorney to explain to us the rules for this morning's work session. Good morning, Attorney Powers.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you. This work session is a public meeting as defined in Florida's Sunshine Law. The board is dedicated to full transparency in its meetings and its work. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board has adopted uniform meeting procedures, including the right for citizens to participate. The board will allow public comment regarding any work session item that's listed on today's agenda at the appropriate time. Speakers must fill out a request form, which can be located in the lobby, and hand it to the board clerk. After the board and superintendent have completed their discussion on a particular agenda item, the board clerk will call speakers' names in the order received. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As required by Sunshine Law, the board must maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum throughout the meeting. Speakers may criticize subject matter and decisions in a respectful manner, but not people. In addition, please avoid using the mention of others' names, especially student names, unless they are the parent of the student and choose to do so. Thank you for your attention to these important rules.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. We will now begin the work session with the superintendent's administrative briefing. Good morning, Dr. Gullett.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just briefly want to take a moment to recognize our amazing assistant principals. It's National Assistant Principal Week. I've been seeing quite a few of them in the last several days, and so appreciate the work they do in helping to lead and run operations in our schools every day. So appreciate their incredible leadership and the role that they serve in supporting student success. And that concludes my briefing. If I could go ahead and introduce our first item, yes, Madam Chair. Thank you. So I'm pleased to introduce this morning our wonderful Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Teresa Boston-Ellis, who is going to introduce our annual investment performance review for the board today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. Good morning.
Morning.
Chair Dr. Campbell, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Gullett. As you know, Florida statute and our investment policy 6144 is designed to ensure prudent management of public funds, that those funds are available for operating and capital needs, and also that there is a comparable and competitive investment return on those investments. The main objective of our investment policy is to make sure there is safety of principal, maintain liquidity, and of course, return on investment. Our policy requires many things, and one of those things is an annual investment performance review. Mr. Scott Sweeten of PFM Asset Management, who are our investment advisors, will provide that review this morning. And this is for the period ending December 31, 2022. And of course, he is also available to answer any questions that you may have. Mr. Sweeten.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, it's a little close. I'm Scott Sweeten, Senior Managing Consultant with PFM Asset Management. Are you getting a lot of echo on this, or?
No.
All right. For some reason it sounds weird here. For the sake of your agenda, I'm not going to touch on every slide. I'll initially start out reviewing the portfolio, and then I'll wrap it up with a market economic update. Any questions that pop up, feel free to interrupt, or we can address everything at the end of the presentation. And I guess without further ado, we'll jump into the report. I'm going to try to keep this as positive as we can. And actually, I'm going to move right to the end of the fourth quarter of last year. That would be the most timely information we have. So taking a look at the core portfolio, if we look in the upper left quadrant, you can see the total market value, $25,686,100. And the areas that I'll point out, you can look at your portfolio effective duration, 1.64 years. The benchmark effective duration, 1.74 years. So a good signal there is that we're actually taking a defensive posture in comparison to the benchmark. And the reason for that primarily is we're able to still pick up very attractive yields without extending the portfolio to the level of the benchmark. So still within that 2-year time frame, that's essentially a sweet spot for us, picking up very attractive yields. And that probably will continue until we start to get somewhat of an indication that the Fed may be leaning towards actually cutting rates at some point, which inevitably they will. Other things to look at, yield at cost, 1.77%. That was actually what the portfolio was yielding at the end of 2022. The yield at market, 4.31%. That's actually reflective of the fact that the Fed raised rates 425 basis points in the calendar year. So just from a historical perspective, certainly an anomaly of a year, just to say the least. And average credit quality for the portfolio, AA rated. You can see in the upper right quadrant, that would be the sector allocation breakdown, very well diversified across the board. The bottom right quadrant, you're looking at duration distribution. And as you can see, the vast majority of the portfolio is in that 3-year and under time frame. And you also have 21% of the portfolio that would be less than 12 months. So again, quite a bit of liquidity. And as referenced just a few minutes ago, we invest for safety, liquidity, and yield. And in the bottom left quadrant, you're just looking at ratings from Standard & Poor's. Now the next 2 slides are pertaining to compliance. And the good news is you're in great shape. If we look at sector allocation analytics, you can see the gray portion of the bar would indicate the maximum levels permitted by your investment policy. The blue shaded region would be where you were allocated in those various sectors at the end of 2022. And just a quick visual takeaway, you can see that there's a very healthy buffer between where you're allocated and the maximum limits of your investment policy. So from that standpoint, you're in great shape. The next compliance piece, if you will, max maturity analytics. Again, the gray portion of the bar would be indicative of the maximum maturities within your investment policy for each of these specific categories. And the blue shaded region, again, is essentially the average maturity for each of those asset classes. So again, well within your policy limits. So from a compliance standpoint, no issues at all. The next 2 slides, really just a great bird's eye view of the overall portfolio. You can actually see on the far left, security type. That's broken down by the various sectors. Then we take a look at the market value, which would be the percentage that each of those comprise of the overall portfolio. And then ratings from probably the 3 most recognizable credit rating agencies. You have Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch. And you will see, if you look at specific issuers, even on the corporate side, you can see that some of the credit rating agencies will differ with a rating which we would refer to as a split rating, but just gives you a great perspective on the overall holdings in the portfolio. And finally, positive news. In the fourth quarter, of 2022, the portfolio returned a positive 78 basis points. Now, the benchmark was at a positive 73 basis points, so we did outperform the benchmark in the fourth quarter. Taking a look at a longer time frame, over a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year, and 10-year period, you can see that we did outperform the benchmark over all of those specific time periods. We certainly never like to convey negative performance, but within that type of environment, our role is to really give back less than what the market is doing at that time. So as you can see over the last 12 months, which have been volatile and challenging to say the least, we still were able to outperform the benchmark. Any questions on the portfolio before I transition into the market or economic update?
Any questions, Vice Chair? No? I have a question, but I think I want to save it to the end. So,
Okay.
yeah.
It must be a good one then, okay.
Well, I mean, just, I think it'll all be in context.
Okay, perfect. So most of these market themes that we're looking at, they've actually been relevant for probably at a minimum the last 12 months, probably you could even stretch that out to probably the last 24 months. But on the upside, for the most part, we did continue to see persistent inflationary pressure across the board. Over the last 3 or 4 months, many of the economic indicators have started to show a cooling off or slowing in inflation. If we're looking at it in a year-over-year comparison, so that's a positive. We do have the CPI and PPI coming out next week. That's going to give us another good indication. Continued strong labor market. For the last 2 consecutive readings, we've actually added considerably more jobs than expected. The unemployment rate is roughly at 3.6% right now. Labor force participation rate continues to increase incrementally, which is also a positive. It's going to be a pretty unique day tomorrow because it's a holiday, the market's closed, and we are going to have the March labor readings, so the market is not going to be able to react to that until next week. So again, the Fed will be monitoring that very closely. And once we get into the Federal Reserve, as I stated, in 2022, they raised rates 425 basis points. I think we're well aware of the inverse relationship with the Fed raising rates and the market value on any fixed income instrument. So there's an inverse relationship there. We are starting to see quite a nice recovery there. Part of that is also that we're reinvesting most of the assets probably in the high 4% range, even up to a mid 5% range right now. So that's going to really start to reduce the unrealized losses that you're looking at on paper currently. And again, volatile markets, that's kind of an understatement. I'll kind of walk you through what we're looking at as far as yields. We still have an inverted yield curve, which essentially that amongst the members. Rates are targeted between like 5.1 and maybe 5.3%. Once we get out into 2024, you can see the members start to have a bit more of a disagreement where we're actually anticipating rate cuts in that particular calendar year. And then moving out to 2025, you can see that we're slowly progressing down to that 2% target that the Fed is hoping to obtain. And longer term, you start again to see that the members are pretty much in line with their expectations at that time frame. Now, the one debate that you're going to probably continue to hear, I would say on a weekly basis, is are we in a recession? Are we approaching a recession? If so, is it going to be short-lived? Is it going to be a deep recession? Again, everything is going to be data-driven from week to week, month to month. You can just take a look at let's refer to it as a gas gauge on the left side there. You can see that the arrow is actually leaning more towards the right because those are actually areas that are a little bit more unpredictable right now. On the left side, labor market, we're essentially at full employment, so that's one of the mandates of the Fed that has already essentially been taken care of. You also have retail sales, which remain strong. Consumer sentiment, for the most part, has continued to remain strong as well. And once we get to the right side, now these are areas that really could change and become volatile. Manufacturing, the rate hike cycle, depending on what news comes out, that's going to dictate the Fed's strategy moving forward. Housing market still remains a bit challenging, and the inverted yield curve, as I referenced before, from a historical perspective, when the 2-year is yielding more than the 10-year, that is usually indicative that we are headed into a recession. If we look at the right portion, and again, I'll reference recession here as well, but you can see the GDP forecasts. And for the most part, as we move out among the next year or two, you can actually see they are expecting modest growth, which historically is an area that we're much more comfortable with. If we take a look at 2022 in general, Q1 and Q2, we actually had negative readings for GDP. So by definition, whenever you have 2 consecutive negative readings for GDP, again, historically, that's an indicator that we are headed into a recession. So you have 2 variables or indicators that have been fairly accurate over an extended period of time that we may potentially be headed into a recession. So again, that'll kind of play out as we move forward. Everything is still very fluid. Just to give you an idea where we're finding value, these are sector yield spreads. So the black line on the x-axis, that would be essentially reflecting treasuries. And if you take a look just on the right side of the slide, you can see corporate notes, A to AAA. There's a very healthy spread over treasuries, so we are finding quite a bit of value there. As I referenced, we're picking up corporates high 4% range all the way up to 5.5% as of January and February in your portfolio. And right below that in the bottom right quadrant, asset-backed securities, AAA. Again, that's an area that we're still finding quite a bit of value in. Just to put things into perspective, in Q4, which was a very nice reversal from the previous 3 quarters, you can see the 1 to 3 year indice quarterly returns all positive. Prior to that, pretty much negative across the board for an extended period of time. And actually, I think that would probably be about, those would primarily be all the important data points that I wanted to touch on. So from there, I mean, those are pretty much all my prepared remarks. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you do have any.
Board, specific questions? Mr. Sweeten? Vice Chair?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Sweeten. I continue to be very comfortable with the direction and the expertise of the folks like yourself and Teresa Boston Ellis and her team that we have in place. You know, I know we're limited by law and what we're able to do, and obviously we comply with that. But having the high-quality holdings and the high-quality management to keep us safe, to keep us liquid, and catch those, yields where we can while maintaining a defensive posture means, we'll be ready to deploy when the time is right.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Question? Dr. James?
So you spoke a foreign language just now to me. I'll acknowledge that. This is my husband's purview at our house, but I just want to say I'm grateful to have your work with us and Teresa Boston Ellis and her department, because certainly this would not be something that I would want to take on without the experts in my corner. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Ms. Conrad?
But just thank you. I echo what Ms. James says. I am thankful for your work and keeping us on target and moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend Cummings, do you have any comments or questions of Mr. Sweeten? Reverend Cummings is on the telephone with us today.
No, not at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend Cummings. Yeah, that was great. My one question of you, Mr. Sweeten, and thank you for a wonderful presentation, because it does give us insight, and as my board members have said, having experts working on this for us. I did make a note that 21% of what we have is in less than 12 months holdings, and I understand that. I mean, I understand because I wrote down safety, liquidity, and yield, and I
Right.
get the value of ensuring that we have these resources in a liquid state to some degree that help us, but also taking advantage of where we are right now. Is potentially there opportunity to lock in some of these higher rates right now, understanding that it's possible that we are going to see rates changing over the next 12 months?
Right, we are actually doing that. That is primarily part of the strategy of keeping the portfolio within that time frame, because again, there is tremendous value where we're really not committing too much out on the curve as far as duration and things of that nature. So certainly.
I would just love to see it, as this individual board member, whatever we're able to do to lock as much in as we can without keeping as much liquid as we need to, according to what Ms. Boston Ellis knows that we need, but also ensuring that we take advantage of those higher rates that are happening right now that probably won't be there in 12 months. That would be.
And just to give you some context and background, we do work with your staff, which has been an absolute pleasure. We do update a cash flow analysis typically on an annual basis, so that really dictates where we're going to put specific segments of the assets, where we're going to deploy them. It's going to be based purely on liquidity needs. So
Okay. That was my only question, so I appreciate it. If there's no other questions from the board, is there any public comment? Hearing none and seeing none, thank you so much, Mr. Sweeten, for your presentation today. We appreciate your
time.
partnership. Dr. Gullett, the next item on our agenda.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm really pleased to introduce Mr. Richard Benvenuti, and I know he has Logan Johnson here as well. And Mr. Benvenuti is our Director for Technology and Information Services, and so they're going to present our comprehensive technology plan to support student learning. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Campbell, Dr. Gullett, and board members. My name is Richard Benvenuti. I was just introduced as I'm the Director for Technology and Information Services. I'm here today with Logan Johnson, Coordinator of Curriculum, Instructional, and Digital Learning, and we're pleased to present to you the comprehensive technology plan for students. The Technology and Information Services Department supports the district's strategic goals in both the instructional and operational categories. Instructional technology focuses on employing technology to engage students actively in learning. Operational technology focuses on increasing communication between technology and other district departments to increase the seamless integration and to help develop data-driven decisions. Today, we're going to share an overview of our comprehensive technology plan of students. Throughout the presentation, we will share the plan of action to achieve our goals and of enhancing and improving technology services at MCPS. We will also share an update of each of the key activities, including an update on the progress to achieve a one-to-one device and bandwidth access to 100% of our students by 2026, a plan to innovate technologies and resources to expand digital learning opportunities to students through the work of our instructional technology team, and to provide you with an overview of how we will develop a digital master plan that identifies the needs and opportunities to strengthen technology across the district. Technology Information Services is committed to supporting universal technology solutions across multiple platforms through accelerating, innovating, and elevating. From providing teachers and students access to digital tools needed for instruction, supporting our business users, and protecting the MCPS network from cyber attacks. Technology Services aims to provide support for the district technology needs. The Technology and Information Services Department is comprised of 3 teams that work collaboratively together to provide accessibility, resources, and connectivity so that we can provide students anytime, anywhere opportunities. You may be familiar with our data center and operations and software and applications departments. In these departments, our data center supports web filtering, cybersecurity, E-rate, mobile device management, internet traffic, technology user support. Our software application department supports, of course, software applications, district software applications, system integrations, single sign-on, student information systems, and of course, the district website. The box you see in green highlights an initiative that we're striving to build and is something that you'll hear a lot about in today's presentation, the need for an instructional technology focus in MCPS. By adding this additional layer of support, it allows us to directly support the use of technology in our classrooms. It's a joint effort of each of these areas that build a strong educational technology system in MCPS. The 3 areas are highlighted that were highlighted in the previous slide work with one another to achieve a goal of integrating technology into learning. When looking at the graphic on the screen, you will notice how each of these areas build upon each other and work together to build the educational technology capacity of MCPS. These areas cannot work independently to impact student achievement. The collective efforts of these areas have to be considered when developing a plan to impact students in the classroom. As previously stated, we're striving to strengthen instructional technology in MCPS. Technology can create profound changes in teaching and learning and creating opportunities for collaboration, engagement, and feedback. The key is knowing how to use technology in meaningful ways. Instructional technology refers to the theory and practice of design, development, utilization, management, and evaluation. Instructional technology is used to improve district education and training systems by applying research and best practices. Instructional technology provides many benefits to the education process by creating of engaging and effective student learning experiences, which include better access to information, more opportunities for collaboration, and better capacities for meeting the diverse needs of learners. To accomplish this goal, we must focus on designing instructional technology opportunities for students and teachers in MCPS. This includes developing a district support team that will engage directly with students through professional learning, coaching, impact teacher groups, pilot schools, sharing best practice, site visits to schools, and follow-up support. Now I will ask Logan Johnson to come up and share what we are currently where we are currently in the pathway of creating active users of technology in MCPS.
Thank you, Mr. Benvenuti. Let's begin by looking at the reality of where we are today. Just a couple of years ago, teachers used little, if any, technology in their classroom. Digital devices are replacing pens and paper in classrooms rapidly. As a matter of fact, classrooms without technology tools are almost obsolete. How the digital classroom looks today is very different of how it will look tomorrow. Today, technology is a fundamental part of the education process. As the modern world becomes more digitized, tech literacy becomes increasingly important. Technology allows students multiple pathways to demonstrate learning and allows teachers to assess where students are. Technology also plays an essential role in improving the productivity of our organization. Each person in the room today, whether in your work or home life, is impacted by technology every single day, usually multiple times a day. As a matter of fact, without these technologies, many people would struggle to work efficiently and communicate in their daily life. The reality is, the future is tech, so we have to get our students prepared. Technology does not take the place of direct instruction from a teacher in a classroom. To be clear, the most valuable resource in every Marion County public school is our teachers. When we equip our teachers with the knowledge and skills of tech integration tools, we provide them with strategies in their toolkit to increase student engagement, enhance collaboration, and assess student learning. We tend to think of technology as something new, and usually the first thing that comes to mind is a software or hardware of some kind. This is only one kind of technology. Educational technology is the application of new tools and ideas that impact teachers and how students learn. It includes a variety of unique ways to capture students' attention and boost student engagement. Good technology integration isn't about the fanciest tools or the most expensive tools. It's about being aware of the range of options and picking the right strategy or strategies for the lesson at hand. For successful tech integration in schools, teachers must be provided professional learning opportunities connected to choosing the right strategy in lesson planning and then executing that strategy in instructional delivery and facilitation. The work of tech integration connects planning and preparation, enhances our classroom environments, impacts our instruction, and provides assessment for teachers to build a roadmap for teaching and learning. When used effectively, technology can greatly contribute to student achievement in schools. Technology isn't the only tool we can use to increase student achievement, but there are a few ways it can assist in that mission. We have defined our goal of providing technology access to students in 4 groups. First is equitable and effective access to technology. 2 is access to our curriculum resources. 3, access to applications and technology tools. And 4, access to information for decision making. We strive to provide equitable and effective access to technology by ensuring that our campuses' wireless activity is maintained. Through the district's one-to-one initiative and monitoring that our goal is met and sustained. Providing schools with support for state-required computer-based assessment, and providing access to coursework in technology through our industry certifications, as well as supporting technology for our students with special needs. The second area features the power of integrating technology in curriculum and instruction. Instead of looking at technology in isolation, we combine the efforts of the two to create a partnership in learning. Did you know that digital learning resources support over 240 courses K-12 in Marion County Public Schools? With the shift from textbooks to e-textbooks, access to curriculum resources play a vital role in educational technology. When looking at access to curriculum resources, we evaluate the following areas: continuing to provide access to our online curriculum resources through our single sign-on portal, providing training to our teachers and our students on digital citizenship, and most importantly, providing a variety of methods of professional learning that meet the needs and reach more teachers. The third area we are focusing on is accessing application and technology tools. Beyond curriculum resources, we must consider the role and impact of all staff members in MCPS, from administrators to paraprofessionals to secretaries and other district staff. We each impact students in MCPS through the work we do every day. When looking at access to applications and technology tools, we strive to collaborate with departments and schools to increase the efficiency of task completion and communication. In this area, we recognize the need to define our technology guidelines and standards for Marion County Public Schools. And we realize the power of collaboration and professional learning should be given to all staff members. Through the supported integration of technology in the classroom, it opens the door to enhance teaching and learning, classroom management, parent involvement, and school safety. We also want to increase the knowledge for our families about what is happening in our classrooms by strengthening their knowledge and skill for teachers and families on our learning management system, Canvas. The last area of focus is access to information for decision-making. Data-driven decision-making in education can transform a classroom, dramatically improving teacher responsiveness to students, saving teachers time, and ensuring instruction is relevant. That includes providing teachers and administrators with access to advanced analytics through the management of our data system, the data dashboard. It also includes providing teachers with tools for ongoing formal and informal assessment of student learning. We can also not forget the value of feedback and the use of online surveys and the creation of an instructional technology steering committee. Through an ongoing cycle of goal setting and monitoring in these 4 areas, we work to increase technology access for our schools and our students. Now we're going to discuss how we plan to elevate learning through the creation of our instructional steering committee. The technology department is committed to excellence in providing equitable, sustainable, and innovative technology for our students and staff. To help us achieve this goal, we are forming a steering committee of school-based leaders, district leaders, and teachers to work with us in an advisory capacity. We also look to expand the collaboration to include our students, our parents, and our community members. The mission of the Marion County Instructional Technology Steering Committee will be to focus on the evolution of our technology, developing strategies that identify technology needs and opportunities in our schools, exploring innovative technologies and resources to expand digital opportunities for engagement and learning, and outlining our training and support for educators to utilize technology in high-quality instruction in the classroom. Beyond the sheer number of tech tools available, we understand that inadequate professional development and training is the primary obstacle for using technology productively in classrooms. The purpose of providing professional learning opportunities is to support student engagement and learning in classrooms. These offerings also support district staff with tips and tools to increase efficiency and communication from district to schools and families to home. In collaboration with the Professional Leadership and Learning Department, we will advertise these opportunities for staff members to take advantage of. These offerings range from enhancing our current Canvas course to focus more on a student-centered course structure, to training opportunities for all staff on our Microsoft 365 applications. In supporting our goal of increasing instructional technology, we look to provide employees with training on technology integration tools that can be used during planning and instruction. Our goal is to provide employees with a variety of methods that include in-person options, virtual training options, PD on demand, and just-in-time learning options. Now I'll turn it back over to Mr. Benvenuti to share an update on our 2023-2024 technology refresh and one-to-one device initiative.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. A technology refresh refers to updating and upgrading systems and devices to maximize security and performance. When devices such as devices reach end of life, they become susceptible to security breaches and have the inability to perform as expected. The plan is to do a 100% refresh of all technology devices within a 5-year period, with a year-over-year of 20% refresh. The following is the breakdown of the total refresh for the 23 and 24 school year. We have a desktop refresh that we're doing for teachers and admins. We'll be refreshing student desktops. We have a Chrome refresh, and you'll see the numbers in front of you that we're going to be refreshing. And finally, we're going to focus on our Engaged Classroom refresh. Currently, we have 2,536 classrooms, 1,000 of which have been upgraded to the new interactive flat panels. We have another 1,500 to go. We've got a plan in place to complete those upgrades within the next 2 years. And our strategy for funding all this is we're going to evaluate all the funding resources that we have out there to make this possible. So let me give you a goal 4 update here. The goal of one-to-one technology is to provide equitable access to technology for every student within MCPS to enhance and transform teaching to create digital digital literate learners. Our goal at MCPS is to maintain a one-to-one environment. We are working to achieve this goal through the 23-24 device refresh, which will provide schools with enough devices to meet each school's student enrollment numbers. These are the areas that we need to work through to ensure the devices are available to every student in every classroom. Communication with schools on options for device allocation per classroom. Best practices for distribution of devices, managing the charging stations and class sizes, and guidance from the IT Steering Committee on options to help strengthen our one-to-one initiative. In addition, we're ensuring that our networks can provide the necessary bandwidth to support school instructional needs by providing schools with 10 gigabit access. By strengthening these areas, we ensure every student has access to digital learning opportunities. The Technology and Information Services recognizes the importance of supporting the users of the MCPS network. Our number one priority is to provide safe and reliable access to our employees and students. MCPS has technicians assigned to schools to provide district support for each of the school sites and district offices. Our department supports users in the following ways: network security and monitoring, and support and maintenance services. One project completed in the 22-23 school year was the updating of our Trackit self-service system to a web-based ticketing system that provides the district with more reporting options needed to meet District Goal 4 for operational efficiency. The new web-based version enables technicians to access work orders, tickets quickly from any location, allowing for quicker responses. This project was completed in September 2022. Users may also contact the Technology Service Desk via phone or submit an issue through the Trackit system. The work we've The work we've shared today is a small part of our MCPS Digital Master Plan that we are in the process of developing. The plan will outline the technical evolution of MCPS and our processes. The plan articulates a version of equity, active use, and collaborative leadership to make anytime, anywhere learning possible. The plan consists of a variety of topics ranging from conducting needs assessments, goal setting, following FLDOE technology guidelines, stable funding sources, ensuring asset management, technology acquisition and access, user support, professional development, and monitoring and evaluation of technology usage and our goals. Now let's look at how these connect to the strategic plan goals. As we conclude our presentation on the comprehensive technology plan for students, we combine efforts shared today to continuously find ways to accelerate, innovate, and elevate how technology is used in MCPS. For example, we're going to accelerate by developing a digital master plan. We're going to innovate by the development of an instructional technology team, by creating digital learning pilot schools, and we're going to elevate by developing an IT steering committee to help us guide our technology. At this time, I'll turn it back to Dr. Gullett for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Benvenuti. Ms. Johnson, board, we've been talking about digital master plan, and those of you who've been on the board a few years have heard me talk about the need for this in our district. Again, needing to accelerate the two parts of this. I mean, this is a very comprehensive approach, and I am incredibly grateful to the team because the understanding of the access and equity to all of our students with high-quality technological devices throughout our county is one piece, but the use of the technology for student learning is the other part. One does not go without the other. And that takes a lot of work, as Mr. Benvenuti was just sharing about asset management and all of that, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of collaboration. I relate this as a marriage of departments in terms of technology information structure with curriculum and the academic component. And without really strong leadership and understanding of what it looks like, it is very apparent, and I hope you see the understanding of what it looks like in the classroom for people who have worked in that role and transferring that knowledge to others. The engagement, the creation of the committee to engage those people who are working in our schools, in our classrooms with these devices to be part of the solution and the plan is much appreciated. So I could not be more grateful for us really getting this moving along at a faster rate and, more importantly, at a more efficient rate that I think will be very beneficial to our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. Board, I'm sure we have questions. We'll start with Ms. Conrad.
I am really excited about what you all shared with us this morning, and I'm going to apologize because I was just taking notes as you went through your presentation. So some are questions and some are just shout-outs. Okay. So at the beginning, you were talking about teacher PD, or professional learning, as Dr. Gullett likes to call it. It's trying to move over to, it's such a need. And so I was just curious about how you're identifying those needs.
A lot of that work will come from our IT steering committee. We've had the opportunity to do some school visits and get Mr. Benvenuti out to see what our schools are working with. And there's so much power in the collaboration between the key stakeholders involved. And that's going to come from our teachers, that's going to come from our administrators, that's going to come from all of our key stakeholders. So with that IT steering committee and having them involved in that process, that's how we're going to find that need and be able to address it. Of course, we're always going to face the challenges of time and when it happens, but with technology, there's so many great ways that we can share information with teachers. And so we'll look to expand some of those other options of just-in-time options where you get what you need really quickly to be able to move on to that next piece. So through a lot of work with our schools to see what the need is and then how it's working with those schools to make a difference on student achievement.
Okay, that's very exciting because, as you know, in the past, you could leave your classroom, go to a meeting, and you could come back and something different would be on your desktop computer. And I'm not going to share my age, but it's not as easy to jump in and figure things out. So I'm really excited about that part of your program. I want to give a shout out to the computer techs. I'm not sure if that's their official name. I don't know a group of people, at least at the schools I've worked at, that work harder, literally running, sweating, trying to get to every classroom and help because you might be in the middle of a lesson and, it's not working. And also to the Track It system, the people are lovely, dealing with people like me who can turn on their computer, and as long as everything's working, it's great. But as soon as I run into a glitch, I need some help, and they're always more than willing, to give you guidance and let you know when someone will be there so you can plan your day according, especially when you're with students. So please relay that message to them that we know they're working hard every day, and it's a never-ending task. It's always something.
Absolutely, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
A question is, supplying teachers or having a bank of laptops for teachers part of your plan, where teachers could check out laptops to use if they were doing planning and instruction from home?
I see that in the future. We'll have further discussions about that, but absolutely, having a device that they can take home, we're going to look at ways we can possibly make that happen.
Okay, that would make some teachers.
Dr. Gullett's leaning forward.
I'm smiling, and that's why Mr. Benvenu is smiling, because I asked the question as well about laptops and access for teachers, and that is something that's being considered, so how we can.
Right, because doing a lot of
Do
this
that.
PD online would
Yes.
be nice, when you have some downtime to go through and work through the PD that you all are planning to provide. Okay, one interest I have, can you track what programs teachers are using most frequently in like the K through 2 setting, the 3 through 5 setting, middle school and high school? I'm interested to know, outside of them being used for an assessment tool, what are our teachers choosing to use at this time so we can see, the frequency and what they're working on?
So it's going to depend on the tool, but I can go back to staff and we can look at that for you.
Okay.
Because it really is tool dependent. Some tools' reportings aren't as clear as others, and so it's a little more difficult to get that granular.
Okay.
But we will definitely follow up with you on that.
I'm interested in that as we go through our board agendas and we're purchasing programs and renewing programs. I'm interested to see and what the teachers prefer to use, what they see as beneficial.
So that's the other benefit of having an IT steering committee, because they can provide that information and kind of you get that feedback, because it's important for technology to be very connected to their users, because that's the only where you're going to be able to get that feedback back that, yes, this is working, this is not working. So again, the steering committee is going to have some, level of information they're going to be able to provide us. We can also look at the data, because data decision-making is the way to go.
Another piece, and you did mention this, but as coming from the classroom, something that was extremely beneficial, I just want to share out that you all are doing, is it has made the communication between home and school so much more effective. And so that being part of what we're doing, have we considered a school-wide or a district-wide tool that we use? There's lots of apps and things out there that teachers are using independently, but has the district looked at anything that we would use holistically?
We do have Canvas, and I think some of this is going to come on the more professional learning we provide teachers, the more they are aware of the options that resource really does have. And there's so many connections between that communication in school with our learning management system, where families can actually go in and see how their students are performing, and students have that option as well. So when we're talking about strengthening our professional learning in some of these areas, it's taking what we currently have and then enhancing the knowledge and skills for our teachers to know that it has so many more opportunities available than we might be maximizing or using at the time. So Canvas is another example of something that, when used correctly and when teachers have the knowledge and skills of how it works, can definitely help connect schools to home and home to school. So that's an example of one.
Okay, so Canvas was just coming on board, really, when I was in the classroom. So do you see like apps like Bloom's and I can't think of the other, what's that? Yes, Class Dojo. You think it can wholly replace those kinds of things? Because for me, using that in the classroom, it was so quick. You know, I can zip out a reminder about a test or homework or those kind of things. So is Canvas really moving, or have we moved so that's filling the gap?
In Canvas, you can list announcements for families to be able to read, the same as you can with a click of a button. Those apps, and some of those are connected to behavior management tools. We have apps like Remind that are outside of it, but I think if we really understood the use of our Canvas tool, we would be able to show teachers that it has many options around those things. And then if you needed it for something else like behavior management or another aspect of teaching, how those things can be linked or integrated with the use of our Canvas system.
Okay, thank you. I think I need to be on your PD list because I'm going behind on that. I'm also super excited. I wanted the digital citizenship component that you talked about. I think it is so important, and it's so beneficial, especially as we look at the devices going into the hands of our kids at such a young age. So I want to thank you for that as you continue to evaluate it and keep it up to par as we use that more and more with our young people. One thing that is a concern to me, and Mr. Benvenuti, this was before you took this position, but it seems as a district that we traditionally load a lot of new things at the beginning of the school year. And then when our staff shows up, we have had in the past a lot of glitches. And it's really frustrating to try to learn new curriculum, new technology, and all of those things, at the beginning of the year as you're preparing for a new group of students. And I would ask, and I think that we talked about this when we had our one-on-one, but that is a consideration, as you move into loading and planning for new things, that we prepare our staff for that.
Right, and actually in any planning of any software implementations, you always get through those glitches before it goes out to staff. And training happens before it's deployed. So we will, of course, focus on that, and anything new that comes out will be based on that planning process, where we'll develop a plan, implement, test, and then load, and then provide the professional development, and then implement out at the school sites, so.
Okay, I'm just going to wrap up by saying if we are able to accomplish half of what you shared with us today, I'm really excited, and I think our schools and our staff are going to feel a huge relief, and they're going to feel empowered by what you're able to provide for them. So thank you again for the work that you're doing. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you, Ms. Conrad. Additional board comments. Dr. James.
Mine are brief. Ms. Conrad really summarized most of what I had. I want to say that was a wonderful presentation, and Ms. Johnson, I wanted to clap when you were done. It was so thorough. I have a question regarding, my understanding was that we had pulled back our individuals who would install smart boards to focus their energy on installation of school safety devices. And we are, as Mr. McFadden had shared with me and I summarized at the board meeting, almost done with buzzer installation and that kind of thing. So can you just touch base on where we are in that journey? Because your slide shared a significant amount of smart board installation, which is wonderful, but if we don't have the resources to get it done, then that'll be the...
Agreed, and we have, I guess there's good discussions of things happening this summer also. They're going to take that staff away. So I've gone out to procurement, and we're developing a bid to get outside installers to come into the system and install those interactive flat panels. So we're going to use an external group of workers to kind of achieve that goal.
Okay, that sounds like that would probably be a good next step, because while I love seeing that we would get 1,000 plus new smart boards feasibly, I'm not sure that within our current infrastructure we have the space to take that on and effectively get it done in a timely manner.
Yes.
As for, I'm aware of at least one school who had a PTO buy a smart board, and it was purchased essentially in September, but then they weren't able to get that installation done because of our prioritization with school safety. And so if there are still lingering things like that, do you know where we are in that process? Are we still holding off on installation of new things,
Well,
or?
actually, installation is currently happening.
Okay.
It's going to stop right before the summer, right before we start our installations of other, we have buildings that we're going to be erecting, the portables, thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
The portals are going to be done, but until that time, we're using that current, staff to go ahead and install those panels.
Okay,
When we have to stop, we'll have those outside people, and we will, of course, take care of those schools first. We'll do it in the order that they were received, so that those schools that have been waiting the longest, of course, get taken care of first.
well,
So,
I'm happy to hear there's a plan, and
Yes.
maybe we can look at ways we can, if it makes sense financially, to continue to try to supplement our workforce in that effort, so that schools don't have to go a whole year, presumably with being able to purchase a smart board but not get it installed, so.
agreed. But once we do this, every classroom should have a panel.
Yes,
So
that would-
hopefully that project will have been completed.
well, but eventually refreshes, I mean,
Refreshes, we're expecting to be about 10 years on these. So that's the life cycle of the actual panel. I mean, of course, you're going to have to replace the desktops that are being used, but those will be replaced a little more frequently. But it's not going to be like the projectors that,
But we have a lot of schools that already have them
Yes,
installed,
correct.
some for years.
okay. Yeah, we'll definitely look at the age of the devices, and we'll plan accordingly to make sure that everybody has something that is working and that is capable of classroom instruction. It's not something like, for example, like when we have the interactive boards with the dim projectors, we don't want to have classrooms like that, because that really affects instruction that's
Yeah.
happening in the classroom. To me, that's downtime, and you don't want to have instructional
How do you
downtime.
feel about overhead projectors?
I have stories about those I'd rather not talk about.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. Best segue ever. Dr. James, I had actually written down overhead projectors. And to me, it is a symbol. It is symbolic of where we are as a district. And I have notes here. I decided to start putting stars on the ones I wanted to remember to emphasize, so now I have stars everywhere. But I'll start with ambitious, visionary, and inclusive. And that, to me, is the key, because we still have plenty of staff that were pretty much married, to chalkboards, overhead projectors, mimeographs. Some of us remember that smell. So we're really we're on a cusp here. And that leads me to Board Member Conrad's comments about professional learning and development. And how important that's going to be, that it is targeted and leveled, to skill sets and experience and certification requirements. You guys have an incredible task, and you're smart, because creating the steering committees, the focus groups, the task forces that are starting to become the norm of how we do things here is so important, because our employees, some of them have used their voices, but there's a lot of voices still to hear. And having them involved from the beginning is going to make such a difference in executing this mission. I am convinced of that. Not that anyone ever takes anything home, but having eventually computers for home, creating that seamless execution of this whole plan is an incredible undertaking. And then I think about the access in terms of the equity. We have, it's for the new Forest High School, and some of which is now older, and other newer elementary schools, and then we have very old schools, that are on the Register of Historic Places. So how to be able to get this technology in there and working regularly is just a tremendous task. And so I'm grateful for what you're taking on. And it also leads me to believe that as our employees continue to understand the vision and believe in the vision, hopefully they'll get more involved in the process, because I know teachers that are just so savvy at this stuff, and others that are just, their eyes get about as big as dinner plates, and it can be very overwhelming for them. So I think that you have that in mind and looking to really include everybody. What teachers and employees are being asked to do these days, and they need time. They need time to focus, they need time to learn it, and so that's a part of a larger conversation moving forward. We're professionalizing our practices in the digital realm, and we need to give the folks that are going to be implementing it the opportunity to truly learn how to do that. So thank you so much. This is super exciting. I also start digital citizenship, which I hope and pray that this includes the ability to give students a break from cell phones, especially social media, during each and every school day, that this plan will replace that need. Thank you.
Thank you to my fellow board members. Vice Chair Thrower, you actually talked about digital citizenship, so I'm going to start my comments there because I marked that as well. As we have caught wind that we'll be having legislation come out of Tallahassee specific to social media education, do we see, and possibly this is for Ms. Johnson to answer, do we see our digital citizenship curriculum being able to easily incorporate the social media aspects of what the legislature and DOE will be asking us to do for students?
I think absolutely it's going to have to. As you said, as we talked about earlier, technology is vastly changing, and if we don't equip our students and our teachers with the knowledge of digital citizenship, it's hard for them to hold kids accountable for that in the classroom if they are not aware of what it is. We currently do have that in our libraries. Our media specialists are able to share some of that knowledge with our staff, but we want to make it a part of best practices, almost like classroom management when it comes to technology. Digital citizenship would be a piece of that. And absolutely, with the access that students have to so much, social media would have to be one of those areas that are covered, especially just knowing where we're at and what students are exposed to on a regular basis.
Terrific. And I'm sure we'll get more information and clarification from DOE as to what all they anticipate us incorporating. But because we already have it, it seems as if it will be an easy addition to what we already have. I too want to say thank you so much for all the hard work that has been put in on this. I'm going to also say thank you for the single sign-on. I know that's something that is relatively new for the district, but also having sign-ons for 3 different universities. I see what it looks like where those that have it, it works, and those that don't, it's incredibly annoying how many times I have to sign in multiple different ways. So thank you, because it's great here. I also had the comment where this is my thought or comment on what Ms. Conrad and Vice Chair Thrower were talking about teachers having laptops, because this particular plan, and I know we have what Dr. Gullett is calling a digital master plan. What we've seen today is the comprehensive technology plan for students. I can only assume there is, at least in the works, a comprehensive technology plan for the district, perhaps. And if that's the case, then that's where I would see that teacher laptop checking out.
Yeah, it's going to be merged with the digital master plan.
Right.
But there'll be components that we can talk about specifically to teachers.
Sure. Perfect. That was an assumption. I wanted to make sure that this is kind of phase 1 of the master plan, and we're so much further ahead than we have been in the past. So again, incredibly grateful, and love that we have a plan for the refresh and all the things, just all the things. I have 2 final questions. One would be specific to student pathways into digital technology. So I'm passionate about what we have done in the past, where we have had the career signing day. It wasn't quite as robust last year, but where our graduating seniors have the opportunity, then we actually promote their signing of a contract to go to an employer of sorts. And a few years ago, I made the recommendation, singular board member made a recommendation that we also incorporate students that have the ability to apply for positions within our school district. Understanding the vastness of our technology department and what all potentially we may even have needs in the future, are we looking to possible student pathways not only to digital technology out in the field elsewhere, but also internally within Marion County Public Schools? You're smiling.
Yes, because that's in the back of my head. And I actually, you're pushing me a little forward, which is fine. We were going to work on internships. That's one of the things that I would like to see happen here in Marion County Public Schools in our division, our area. Internship for students to learn about technology. So yes, that's a little bit further ahead, but I need to get everything together to do that. But that is one of the goals that I have, because I want to ensure that we have continual, everybody has labor shortages. And having students learn technology, it gives them a pathway to learn these skills that they can apply to work here, and then later on, as they improve, maybe seek opportunities elsewhere. But yes, we do have, that's in the back of my mind. We're working on that.
Thank you. Internal pipelines are incredibly important to me.
Absolutely.
We graduate 3,000 plus students every year, and I don't know that we as a district have taken advantage of their skill sets and the abilities that they might have to enter the workforce or even intern while they're in a school setting. Obviously, we have the E's that we talk about, employment, all the things, but while they may not have an interest to go straight into employment, even if they're working on a degree from somewhere else, they could be interning. I gained extensive amounts of knowledge in internships when I had the opportunity to do them, and so I'm a huge proponent for that. That's this board member talking. I know I'm asking you to fast track that, but faster we can get students engaged in, and actually in multiple departments within our district, I think that's just a great way for us to, I know Dr. Gullett's kind of smiling over there, but it's a great way for us to, lack of a better term, backfill our pipeline, and also to ensure our students have relatable skills that they can take beyond Marion County Public Schools. But this board member would love to see that accelerated, and whatever we need to do, which leads into my final question, whatever we need to do to ensure that we are providing that space for every department in the district to potentially have student interns. What do you need from us as a board right now that you would see?
Good question.
Pie in the sky. No,
I know
not really, but
no,
what
it's
do you
pie
need?
in the sky. I mean, realistically, we just need to develop some processes and things that put in place so that we understand how that would work, and how the internships would work through. Because realistically, you're going to have students coming from school sites all over the county. So we need to think those things through before we begin, because transportation will become an issue. Logistically, how does you don't want to impact instruction either. So we're trying to benefit the students without hurting their instructional time in their classroom. So I think we need to have some further discussions about that and how that would work into the school day. But absolutely, any support I get from you would be really appreciated. And maybe we'll come back with something so that we can talk about what additional support we would love to have.
Beyond just the student pathways question, is there anything that you need from us? I mean, you've heard this board appears to all be excited about what you're moving forward with, but is there anything right now that you see that you need from us?
No, the support I'm getting from Dr. Gullett and Ms. Boston Ellis is great. So we're doing great right now. And so if we need anything else, we will come back. But right now, we do have the support we need. We're trying to move ahead on many different fronts. I'm trying to, you have to control, because you want to make sure you don't move too fast, because you want quality over quantity. And that's the importance of, when you're building projects, it's always quality over quantity. Quantity will get you, it's not going to get you what you want, so.
Thank you. Dr. Gullett's leaning forward. Did you have something?
No, I was just smiling, nodding my head. That's why we talk about accelerating, elevating, and innovating, and I couldn't agree more with the quality piece.
So my comments have led to additional board questions. Vice Chair Thrower, we'll start here.
Thank you. Yes, just on top of everything that we're going to be doing to support teachers in this digital plan, also just a word about remembering our paraprofessionals as well, because they certainly are in those roles, and having them included in the professional leadership and training is so important. And yes, I'm excited about what our vice chair just talked about. I was a huge beneficiary of internships and apprenticeships when I was coming up, and I do feel like kids almost don't, they think about school as school, not a potential job opportunity. If it is, they think of teachers, and some of them are like, well, I love my teachers, but no, I don't want to do that. And we're like our own little city of opportunities. So if there is a way to turn that opportunity for internships and apprenticeships into electives, and to be able to get credit for it, how great would that be? So yeah, there's just so many good things and so much good energy. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could, I'm sorry, one other brief item. Vice Chair Thrower just said something I wanted to touch on. We'd mentioned the paraprofessionals, but also we have a lot of substitute teachers in our classrooms, and so the awareness of making sure that if we're maximizing our investment, that those that are providing instruction. I was in a classroom the other day and was commenting to the teacher, and it was a substitute teacher doing a phenomenal job equipping our substitute teachers with the skills so that they can continue that high-quality instruction is important in the plan. So, thank you.
Ms. Conrad.
Yes, I just had one other thing I wanted to ask. Under the strategic planning goals under Innovate, you've mentioned digital learning pilot schools. And so I was just wondering if you have a vision for that and a timeline, and if so, could you share it with us?
So this is a new conversation we've had. We've actually been reaching out to administrators to see what the buy-in would be, what their interest was in something like this. And this is truly taking a school. We're actually in the planning process of it now, so I don't want to make any promises, but let me share a little bit with you of what that might look like. We're actually looking at a feeder pattern to be able to give students an opportunity and teachers an opportunity, if they have the right equipment, if they have the right hardware and software, and we strengthen the instructional technology piece of having them choose the right tools for planning and instruction, and strengthen technology tools that are integrated in teaching and learning, what an impact that can make, and then how that leads into the work that they're going to be doing in the next grade level or the next school. So if it's middle school to high school or elementary, that would create a pipeline almost for students who have been fully engaged in digital learning opportunities throughout their career, throughout their schooling. And then having that expand, I think the most powerful part of it, we can talk about it all day long until we see it in action. So inviting schools over to see what it looks like. An area that I briefly touched on is that digital use divide. We want to break the passive use of technology in our classrooms. It's more than just a worksheet that now I'm going to put online. It's so much more than a quiz that I used to give on paper and pencil is now given online. It's more than sitting on a program for a certain amount of times instead of getting that teacher-led instruction. So having those schools change that mindset around tech integration, not just being about the hardware and software, but truly showing and being a part of collaborative planning when they're planning the lessons. Being in the classrooms to provide instructional tools and feedback as they're delivering instruction or gaining feedback from those technology tools. That would be the model we're looking for with our pilot schools. We are in the works of it. I know Mrs. Talbert Irvin's hard on us to get it done, but that will be in our project management to look at how we can get there. Again, we don't want to take on something we're not willing to do and ready to do really well. And so it's going to take some professional development for all key stakeholders. And that, again, goes from clerks in offices to secretaries to administrators being able to use these materials and giving them training, and then being able to take those pilot schools and create something that visiting schools can come to and want to be a part of until we expand this to be the norm of education across Marion County Public Schools. And that's the power, and that's our goal, and we will keep you updated on that journey. That is definitely top on our list of a way that we're going to try to innovate Marion County with really truly focusing on doing it well, getting feedback from our steering committee, feedback from schools of what that looks like, and then expanding that on. So in 10 years or 5 years or however long it takes, all of our Marion County schools have that opportunity.
Right, because understand this is a culture change. Culture change does take time. And I just wanted to make everybody aware. It doesn't happen quickly. And people sometimes, when I speak to them and tell them about the time period that it takes, they're like, wow. I said, it takes time to change the way that folks think, the way that teachers think, paraprofessional, about how they're doing their work. So it's an understanding that we need to be gentle with our staff too, because we don't want to pushed to the level where they can't accept it, because then that's where you lose them. So we want to make sure that we're going at the right speed to reach everyone, and everybody's coming along for the ride, as we call it.
I just wanted to add, I loved slide 6, and I did do what Mrs. Thrower said. It's got a star and a note by it where you have the passive use and the active use. And I do think that in Marion County, we are at a critical point where we're trying to, and I do feel like it's from a lack of PD. Your teachers and your non-instructs, they all have to feel comfortable using it themselves before they can use it as a teaching tool. And so as we move from this passive use to active use, I think that's a very good demonstration of what we're trying to accomplish. So thank you again for all that you're doing.
Thank you, Ms. Conrad. Any additional board comments? Hearing none, is there any public comment? Hearing none, thank you so much, Mr. Benvenuti and Ms. Johnson. We really appreciate all of your hard work, and we are excited about the future of comprehensive technology use in all of our schools and all of our offices. Thank you so much. Dr. Gullett, next item on our agenda, please.
Thank you again, Chair. I am pleased to introduce Ms. Wantanisha Morant, who is coming forward to kick off our information for the board for our summer learning, Launch into Learning 2023. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, Chair Dr. Campbell, school board members, and Superintendent Dr. Gullett. On behalf of Mrs. Riedel with Elementary Curriculum Instruction and Digital Learning, Dr. Livingood with Secondary Curriculum Instruction and Digital Learning, and the Human Resources Department, I am excited to present the 2023 Summer School Staffing Plan. This year's summer school theme, as Dr. Gullett has mentioned, is Launch into Learning. The two informational flyers that we have, they provide the dates, locations, offerings, and other pertinent information for our elementary and secondary levels, respectively. And then if we're looking at the third and fourth pages of that packet, you will see the proposed summer school staffing plan. The third page or first page of the staffing plan shows our instructional units, and then followed by our non-instructional units on that last page. This plan includes 741 instructional units on the elementary level, 128 at middle school, 99 at high school, and 82 instructional staff are assigned to other programs and sites for a total of 1,050 for our instructional staff. Similarly, with non-instructional staff, there is a requested allocation of 993 staff members for a grand total of 2,043 summer school staff members on the instructional and non-instructional side. The total estimated cost for summer school staff is a little under $5.7 million, and this will be funded through ESSER 2, with the exception of approximately $165,000 for Howard Academy assigned staff, and that's going to be funded through Title 4A. Our plan is to place the summer school staffing plan on the April 25th board meeting agenda for final approval, and then position requests will then begin the following day on April 26th. This timeline will help to ensure that we're adequately staffed in a timely manner prior to summer school starting. That is all I have, so I will now turn it back over to you, Dr. Gullett, for any additional comments or questions.
Thank you, Ms. Morant. Again, we have a number of team members here from different departments and happy to answer any questions the board may have on our summer learning plans. Thank you.
Dr. James, I see you leaning forward first.
I just wanted to speak to the caution I have regarding staffing. So last summer, a concern from principals that I had heard was that there was less consideration for where sites were for summer school, and principals didn't have time to adequately poll their employees and see who wants to work. And so the timeline looks much better this year. Mm-hmm. But we obviously sit in a state of vacancies. And so what is the intention for, are we going to control our enrollment in this so that we can ensure we have enough staffing? We certainly don't want to get in a position where we have too many students and not enough staffing. So what does that look like?
So I will, oh, yeah, thank you.
Yes, I will be happy to answer that. Good morning, everybody. This is why we felt like it was a priority to start this process very early. When I came into this position, we were coming off the heels of the summer program. So I was able to see how amazing it was, and we automatically knew we wanted to duplicate what we saw last year because we had excellent attendance. Staffing was a concern, and that was one of the first things that the team in the curriculum team did address. And so we brainstormed and we talked about how are we going to get teachers to want to do this, because the only way we can have a robust, engaging program for our students is if we have instructors in front of them. So knowing that way back at the beginning of the school year, we did a lot of brainstorming, and one of the biggest things last year, I think, is the program went through July 14th. And so a lot of teachers were on vacation in the month of July. And so they really didn't want to give up 6 weeks of their summer. In addition to that, we had multiple training offerings in the month of July, and we heard from teachers who taught summer school that there wasn't enough time for them to sign up for trainings because they were teaching summer school. So the decision we made, it was not an easy one, but we were weighing all of our options, and so we sent out a survey to teachers. We had about 600 teachers respond and principals. And we asked them, if the program were to be shorter, would you teach this year? Out of the 600 teachers we polled, only 37% of them actually taught summer school last year. So when we asked them if they would consider teaching if it was only in the month of June per se, versus the months of June and into July, we had a much bigger response. We knew right then that we could get teachers on board if we shortened the program to still give them July for part of their summer for their vacationing and their training needs. The other question we asked them is if we shorten the program from 8 to 12 instead of 8 to 2, so that you have students till noon, you're done by 12:30 after you get everything cleaned up and car line done, you still have the rest of your day. Again, there was an overwhelming response to that question where teachers stated that they would much rather work the 8 to 12 than 8 to 2. So we also asked principals what was their biggest reason for not being able to hire teachers, and that's what they said. Teachers were, it was a hard year, and they were ready for a break, and they were not willing necessarily to commit to the whole 6 weeks, but many teachers would be willing to do a shorter time frame and a shorter day.
Do you feel like participation from students will be decreased because the school day will end at 12 and a working parent is not going to have the feasibility to pick up their child at 12 o'clock?
So we talked about that as well, and with school dismissing at 2 last year, a lot of parents either had to make arrangements anyways or take their lunch break at that time. So we talked about 12 or 2. A lot of our families, a lot of our parents work till 5. So we did not feel like that would be necessarily a barrier to that.
Okay. That's all I have.
No questions?
I do, but it's a little off topic. I don't know.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this presentation. So glad you're out of the gate early. That's important. I think about our community partners that are also offering all kinds of different opportunities, and so for them to know what we're doing will just help them also plan. I'm a firm believer that learning needs to happen in a multitude of areas and environments. So while we're a huge piece of education for kids, obviously, for kids also to have the opportunities to attend camps and all kinds of different activities in the community is just as important, in my opinion. And I just keep hearing about, time. There never seems to be enough of it, and I am grateful, again, for the task forces, for the focus groups, for the surveys. I'm starting to hear from teachers that they're not going to stay on the sidelines anymore. They're going to start to get involved. You know, if we really want things to get to where we want and we know we need them to be, it takes everyone believing in the vision and pulling, pushing, being part of it. So I'm happy to see this beginning of a transformation that if you have input and you're unhappy about something, share it, and hopefully you will see that adjustments will be made. You know, is everyone always going to get what they want and what they believe is best? Probably not, but hopefully we'll hit that sweet middle spot and we'll really get the participation that we need, because Dr. James was spot on. You can have the best program in the world, but and you too, but if you don't have, you know, the educators to come and do it, then, you know, that's not going to work very well. So I like the idea of having this finishing before July and trying to chunk things so that people actually get the feeling that they can get everything in that they're trying to get into their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Ms. Conrad?
I just have a couple questions, and they're a little in the weeds, so
Okay.
if I need to reach out to you at a later time, that is okay. I was just curious, is summer school for students by invitation only? Because I heard a principal make a statement, and then she said, oh, but if you didn't get an invitation, you can come. So I just wondered how we were looking at trying to anticipate the numbers that we're going to get.
Sure. Did you get the updated copy of this one
Yes.
by email yesterday? So this is the flyer that will actually go out for public view. So in the middle where it says registration information, it says we are encouraging all students to sign up for our Launching Learning. So what we did originally is the invitations will be sent out and have already started going out in phases. And this was done for a couple of reasons. One, we really wanted schools to have control over the invitations as they are returned so that they can monitor their enrollment. And principals were, we had a sign-up spreadsheet last year that we used, which seemed fairly efficient, but on the school side, when you're trying to weed through and filter schools, students, people putting in their wrong information, we decided it was easier to go back to paper. So the principals were sent some data about 2 weeks ago because we're targeting a specific group of students first. We're targeting all students, but we're doing it in waves because we want to make sure that the students who are struggling the most are the first that we prioritize them, and they're the first ones invited. So they received their data for the first wave of students. Those invites already went out. What we told principals, and we have another meeting next week, and we always talk about summer school at principal meetings, but what we asked them to do was it's up to them to do the second wave and the third wave. We're not going to keep sending them data per se. They have data and they know who their students are. So they'll keep on sending those invites out in waves to the point where everyone will be invited. But if at any time a parent wants an invitation, they can reach out to the school, the teacher, the guidance department. We'll provide them with one and we'll get them registered. The other thing that we really wanted to make sure we were doing was targeting some of our higher achieving students because oftentimes if you just put an invite out there, you get the gamut of academic abilities. So sometimes if you have limited staff, you do have to put them together in the same room and differentiate your instruction. But if there's an opportunity for students who are a bit more advanced to group them together, that's what we want to see across our district. So we asked principals to start brainstorming and consider how is your enrichment group or groups going to look on your campus. And it's going to look different on every campus depending on the resources each school has. But we are super excited about, you might have heard of Project Lead the Way. I know that's being implemented in some high schools, but for the first time at summer camp, we are rolling it out at Greenway Elementary. We have a teacher there that is piloting that for fifth graders. It's the engineering module that they're going to be doing with robotics, and I'm super excited about that. And the principal's really excited, so I can't wait to see how this rolls out. We have Stanton Waresdale's doing 21st Century. We have a space camp happening for Oakcrest students out at Silver River Museum. So we're already starting to help them generate some ideas for enrichment. Aside from these specific programs, schools can also reach out to us for assistance with enrichment opportunities. And we're working with our gifted, Ms. Prito over in the gifted department, to give us some resources that we can provide to our schools.
That sounds terrific. Thank you for sharing all of that. My next, I'm also really excited about the enrichment camp. I think that's something we've been missing out on. Our students have been missing out, so I'm excited that that's going to happen. I also have a question about the third grade reading camp. We've talked previously about that number of third graders that we have possibly not making it to fourth grade. Are there any requirements about attending third grade? I see that it says identified third graders. So if they have been identified, are they required to come to summer school?
We are required to invite them to summer school. And so we encourage that because they're going to have opportunity. The third graders that come are the ones that are in danger of being retained. So when they come to us, we have more opportunity to get them the skills that they need so that they can be promoted to fourth grade. So schools typically do a very good job at really reaching out to those parents multiple times until those students sign up. But unfortunately, we don't get 100% of them.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair?
Yes, thank you. I'm looking at the second slide, I think it's the second flyer, and middle school course offerings. And the more I read, the more excited, I'm getting. I thought I had caught it all, but now I see middle school course offerings, the second block, the 21st Century at Bellevue Middle School, Calculus Project, Howard Middle School, Liberty Middle School, and We the People. And that is very close to my heart, the We the People program. And I am so glad to see that it's appearing in different forms and also in summer school. And so could you just speak to that just quickly? That's really, really great.
Yes, ma'am, I knew you were going to be excited about that. We are excited as well. Our program specialist, Lindsay Barber, has worked closely with a few schools this second semester on the beginning stages of We the People in our middle schools. And so we're expanding that into the summer. And just to let everyone know what We the People is, I'm going to read exactly so I don't mess up the actual statement. We the People is an innovative course of instruction on the history and principles of the U.S. constitutional democracy. So they work together on different topics, and then usually the culmination activity is a hearing, like a mock trial hearing. So it's an exciting, and like Ms. Riedel stated, we're working hard on adding some of the enrichment opportunities to our summer school program. So we're excited about that, and we will definitely invite you so you can all take part of those celebrations at the end of the summer program.
That's awesome. There's nothing like seeing kids in a courtroom for all the good reasons.
Yes.
Doing the mock congressional hearings, and it was Judge Tommy Thompson that presided at the last one that I attended, and the kids were just so polished and so dignified and, using their best vocabulary, and they were nervous as heck, but they were just amazing. And I think there's one coming up at Osceola Middle School,
Yes.
but sadly I have a conflict, so
Howard Middle School and
Yes.
At Howard, okay, hopefully I can make the
South
Howard
Ocala
one.
Elementary, and I've
Yep.
got lots of those on my calendar.
Yep. So, all right, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. I just had a comment and a question, and it's not necessarily for anybody in particular, but one thing that stood out to me and continues to stand out to me is that this is costing us roughly $5 million for summer school, and we know that it's being funded by ESSER, and we need to continue with the data dashboard that we were talking about in the previous presentation, specifically tracking those students who are attending summer school, which leads into my question, because I think we'll be able to definitely justify those that have attended and the progress potentially that they've made because they didn't have that gap in learning throughout the summer months, specifically for those potentially third grade reading camp kids and all of those individuals, which leads into my question. And those of you who participated in this last year knew that my strongest concern was actually getting students to come, not so much actually getting the teachers, which I know is going to be a challenge in and of itself, but reducing that stigma that especially these middle and high school students have in coming to summer school. And then if they have younger siblings, they don't want they like have this stigma of the younger siblings going, and everybody thinks summer school is a bad thing and all of that. And so my question is, do we actually have some student testimonials or some family testimonials that we are using as a part of the promotion for this? We may not yet, but I'm kind of looking to Mr. Christian as well. The more opportunity that we can actually have student to student or family to family encourage participation and say, this 3 weeks, this month, this whatever completely impacted the trajectory of a student's pathway over the course of this year, I think is impactful and helps us with that recruiting element. And then where we put those testimonials is a whole different conversation. You know, if we're actually targeting students or if we're targeting the families and using our social media opportunities there, with whether it's Instagram or I'm looking over to Mr. Davis because he's social media. So whether it's Instagram or Facebook's obviously where their parents are, but Instagram may be where the student is. And so how we get actually some organic interest in summer school, because I think it will begin to tell a more significant story for us from a funding perspective, because this funding's going to run out. And this district is going to have real conversations in the next year. Was this as effective as we hoped it would be? We've seen the effectiveness, but tracking student by student, learner by learner, and the impact that it would have, and then making that case, what does summer school look like beyond ESSER funding? I mean, I think that we have to start telling that story now and start figuring out how we're going to, if we in fact continue this robust summer school, what that looks like. So it's kind of a comment, question, just philosophical thought process. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Ms. Riedel. I know you weren't necessarily here when it all launched last year, so you didn't hear all my questions last year. But
no, that's okay, and I really like that idea, so that's good. I'm going to put that down. What we did this year was, and I think last year had an instructional coach as well, I can't recall, but every school was given an instructional coach, whether you're a host site or a partner site. One of the jobs of that instructional coach before the summer program begins will be to monitor those invites that are permission slips that are coming in and work with the IPC to get kids registered. But we also want that person to work with teachers and parents and start making phone calls. Our teachers are usually very good about coming in. I know when I was a principal, coming into my office and saying, this person didn't turn their permission slip in. I'm going to hound their parent because they need to be here. So having that instructional coach be that liaison between the teachers and the students and the parents to make those personal phone calls and try to get as many students on board as we can, as well as the homeschool liaison. We could use that individual as well. But that's what's going to happen at the school level. But I do love your idea.
Well, again,
the testimonials.
It becomes a greater part of a communication plan and a greater part of emphasis on not just recruiting our teachers, because we also could have secondarily a teacher testimonial, like actually using 10-second, 15-second video testimonials that we text out, that we email out, that we use on social media channels. It doesn't cost us that much other than the staff time to storyboard what that looks like and to actually video them. But those kinds of ways that we can further enhance. We talked a lot about digital technologies just earlier, and it's just a way that we can further enhance even digital opportunities for recruitment of our teacher. You know, hey, that extra paycheck was a great benefit. You know, whatever it needs to be, whatever all the benefits are, 4 extra hours, and my learners were more impacted because I was a part of ensuring that they did not have a gap in learning over the summer. Whatever those, I don't know what the testimonies are going to be. I'm just making up what they potentially could be. But I, as a communications individual and as a singular board member, am passionate about ensuring that we're not only helping to create a wonderful program, but also helping to recruit and ensure that those individuals needing it most are coming, and just the reinforcement of that, not just with a phone call and not just with a letter, which are great, but they are singular communication tactics that could be used in tandem with more of a global campaign.
Sure.
So,
Yep, thank you.
okay, those are my thoughts. Vice Chair Thrower.
Thank you, Chair. I share your enthusiasm for this. I love the idea of reimagining and revisioning our summer programs, and then having robust data to share to possibly get grant funding going forward, because we do know that ESSER's going to run out. I thought about that in the back of my mind as this was beginning. You know, when the pandemic started, we had the ability to just say, everybody come, please come. You know, we want to see you face to face. But that money is going to go away. So what are we going to do about that? And some of the hooks, you know, for getting kids to come to summer school, you know, offering driver's education was really important to me, because that opens the door. If you can drive, you can go places. I mean, it's just that simple. So I do love the idea, and you know, maybe there's going to be some creative middle schoolers and high schoolers that could even do a lot, be participating in this type of work and messaging, fun messaging. Like, why not come for 4 weeks and get all this and take it with you? Thank you.
Any other board comment? Any public comment? Seeing and hearing none, thank you, ladies, for your wonderful presentation. We are excited about summer school. That is, we need to come up with a whole new word, just our launch into learning, or our launch into learning programs that are offered in the summer. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Dr. Gullett, our last agenda item, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Our final agenda item for this afternoon, well, it's still morning, is Dr. Hambrick will kick off with, and she is here with Ms. Eubanks to talk about our Marion after-school program and provide updates to the board. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Campbell, school board members, and Superintendent Gullett. The purpose for today's presentation is to share an overview of the Marion after-school programs in an effort to answer some questions regarding certain programs and sites, as well as to provide information to the board and also the public who's listening. It's important to start off this morning with that MAP is a self-funded program. MAP does not receive any state or federal funds to support the cost of the program. All funds that support the operations of MAP are generated exclusively by MAP fees that they collect. So this means that the intent is that MAP is a cost-neutral program, and so they're also a self-supporting program. And so at this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Eubanks, who's the coordinator of MAP.
Good morning, board. Our commitment statement for MAP is to enrich the physical, intellectual, emotional, and social well-being of our students by creating learning experiences before and after school. And we do this through 4 components within our activity plans. We have a leadership component where that is our clubs, where we pair younger students with older students, job boards, and things like that to give leadership opportunities. In the area of academics, we feel very strongly that we have 20 extra hours with the majority of our students, and so we can do a lot of things that we used to do in a classroom that we cannot do with new mandates. And so we like to do a lot of those hands-on things in the afternoon as far as academics. We do have a homework zone that is staffed by a para each day. And we have principals a lot of times that'll come to us and ask us to work on certain areas. So like we have a Crazy 8 math club that we implement in academics, as well as doing some spelling games and things of that nature in that academic component. We have a wellness component that is our Catch Kids curriculum. Catch Kids is a national curriculum for YMCAs, Boys and Girls Clubs, and we use that wellness program. In addition, we partner with our fans group. We have fans gardens at most of our programs, and then we participate in the Healthy Lung Club, our program, through that. We do STEAM activities for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. I think we have, this is a science club activity at Dr. N.H. Jones one afternoon. It's a fans garden at SPAR. And Lego robotics. This is new this year, and this is very exciting for us. We received almost close to 500 robotics kits this year, and also came with professional development. And so we've implemented those robotics clubs and programs at our sites this year. Literacy pumpkins, we have done this for several years in partner with the Marion County Library. The students read a book and then they create a pumpkin that is on display. On those tent cards are QR codes, and so someone can scan that, and there's an interview of a student stating why they chose the book and why they enjoyed the book, and then tying it back into their pumpkin. And this is one of our STEAM activities out at Romeo with some moon phases, and of course they've used Oreo cookies, so they've had a good time with that. One of our other strong areas is community involvement. We just wrapped up this week a noodle drive with Interfaith, and we always have a peanut butter and jelly drive in October. This year, for the first time, we participated with our heart art. Our students provided the art that was on display at the table decorations, as well as silent auction for the Go Red event in our community. We participate in Publix Read Across America at a large majority of our sites, where the Publix volunteers come in and read to our students. Forest High School Drama Club comes each year to Oakcrest and presents a literacy and play and program there. We utilize high school volunteers, and then we have the Marion County Public Library.
Thank you. So MAP serves approximately 2,800 students, and the hours of operation are from 6:30 in the morning to the morning school bell, and then the afternoon school bell to 6 p.m. We have a total of 41 programs, and we are happy to share that we will be adding a 42nd program next year to Fordham Early Learning Academy. Thanks to the hard work of the MAP staff, the site at Fordham Early Learning Academy has been licensed by DCF to serve VPK students. So at this time, almost all elementary schools do have a program. Fordham does not this year, but they will next year. And the middle school sites that have programs are listed for you on the slide. Middle school sites are decided based on the interest and the need of those in that community. As mentioned, MAP does not receive additional state or federal funds, which means that MAP is funded solely by the fees that they collect. So MAP does need to be a cost-neutral program, meaning that all expenses, including staff and operational costs, are covered by those fees. However, currently, Marion County has 2 ESE service sites to support families who do require before and after school care for students in those ESE programs. These 2 ESE sites service students who are in self-contained ESE classrooms at Hillcrest and Maplewood. Each site has under 20 students, and these students require a lower adult-to-student ratio. This particular slide shows the expenses for operating the 2 ESE MAP sites at Hillcrest and Maplewood, and also outlines the revenue for these 2 particular sites. I will share that other MAP sites have students in their, from their ESE programs at those sites. So this depends on the needs of those particular students and if the program at that school site can support those needs. MAP works closely with each school, the family, and the ESE student to provide care with accommodations at school sites as much as possible.
I have an amazing team that helps administer all of this in our administrative office. I am the coordinator. I have a program specialist, an area manager, which is like a coach that goes out and assists and with activity plans or situations that may arise at each individual school. I'm a confidential secretary, bookkeeper, and auditing clerk, and 2 clerk typists. There's, out of those positions, there are only 3 that are 260 positions. Our site staffing includes a full-time benefited site manager positions. We have 41 of those. Assistant site manager positions are a non-benefited position. They work approximately 35 to 37 hours a week. They are very vital to us if that site manager's out. And so this year for the 23-24, we have proposed in our staffing plan as well as in our budget that they become on the instructional salary schedule and receive benefits. Our activity leaders work approximately 25 hours a week, mainly in the afternoon. Site manager training. Successful completion of the assistant site manager training. So you'll see a progression throughout each slide regarding the training. But our site managers are required to take the Department of Children and Family courses, the Florida Core Competencies for After-School Education, Florida Core Competencies for Directors and Administrators, and Achieving and Maintaining Quality After-School Programs and Supporting Literacy Age Programs. Our assistant site managers will have completed activity leader requirements, child development, learning styles in MAP, activity planning, group management, addressing challenging behavior, and games and outdoor play. And all of these trainings are taught within our department. An assistant site manager will also have a CPR and first aid certification. We have first aid and CPR. Both the site manager and assistant site manager and someone at that site is trained at all times with that certification. We also take the Marion County Public School Health Clinic training. We offer that annually in addition to quarterly training in EpiPen, seizure, diabetics. All of that is covered for our staff in that training. And then they take the Child Care Part 1 for Department of Children and Families. That's a 30-hour class for daycare licensing course. And then they take a class for school age and special needs practices. An activity leader has the new MAP, MAP new hire training, child abuse, ethics and after-school care, playground supervision, MAP policies and procedures, and guiding principles for after-school programming. We are a flat rate fee, so if you come one day, you pay for the entire week. And so it is a flat rate. We base it on 38 weeks. We have 39 weeks in the school year, and I'll explain that with our breaks. Some of the factors that impact our tuition are closing for hurricanes. Huge impact financially for us in money that is not realized. The employee discount at 50%. That figure is very high of money that we do not realize. We do medical waivers if a student has been in a car accident or there's testing or anything going on at Shands or a local hospital or anything. We do work individually with families that reach out, or a guidance counselor that reaches out to us for those waivers. And then this year, we started out with that processing and transaction fee that we have now absorbed, and that is quite costly to our department, but we are managing that due to our higher enrollment this year. The first week of school, I want to go over that because I feel like you will come across that with questions, but there's just 2 days of that first week, but they do not have to attend that first week. And many families will go ahead and establish their child care for that week, and so they can continue those 2 days, but they will not lose their spot within Marion After School program, so they do not have to attend that first week that's only 2 days. And then at the holiday break, the parent will pay for 1 week out of those 3 weeks. We'll combine that first week and the week that we come back on those partial weeks. You can see on the slide our fees. The average cost for local programs, we did kind of an average there of after AM and PM of $74. That varies, and also many of our before and after school programs only offer after school now since COVID, and then there's a difference in their registration fees. Some of their registration fees will be much higher than ours. Ours is $35. We have a late payment fee of $15. That is our policy that you pay on Friday for the following week's care, and if it is not paid by Sunday evening at midnight, then you are automatically charged a $15 late fee because we cannot extend credit with the school system. And then if they're late picking up, there's a $10 late fee. In MAP, we're also responsible for threat assessments and suicide risk. We work really closely with Mr. Mills, And Mr. Mills also comes and trains us annually on all the paperwork and the forms, and then we also work in conjunction with the schools. And Mr. McFadden and his team also assist us quite a bit with the threat assessments and ALICE protocol. We administer rescue medication, and we also do Department of Children and Families reporting.
So Ms. Eubanks is going to cover this slide, but Chair Campbell, in the past years, you've asked for a projected 5-year projection of cost. And this has always been difficult because there's just so many variables that come up. So for example, we would have to anticipate costs such as payroll and the cost of services that increase over time. And especially in today's time, they're just ever changing. And so what we did to try to help answer your question was we decided to go ahead and do like a 5-year snapshot of the costs and how they have increased over this past 5 years from 2018 to 2023. So now I'll let Ms. Eubanks cover those for you.
So you can see our payroll increased 20.65%. That is board-approved, a salary schedule that is a board-approved. So we had that. We absorbed those credit card processing transaction fees, and that was close to about $195,000. That's the projection. It should not hopefully go over $195,000. The fees increased 30.23%. We went from 2018 to 2021 before we went up on our fees, and we went up $5, $10 for AM and PM. But we went up $8 this year due to the minimum wage increase. And I want to address that because I think the general public thinks that we had until 2026 due to the legislation, but we did not. In the Department of Ed required that everyone, even in supportive roles, be brought up to that $15. And so we had a plan in place to meet that for 2026. And so we did a lot of work and scrambling to figure that out, and we solely only went up to cover the cost of that increase for that. We've added 4 additional sites this year, or in the past 5 years. In interpreting services, in the last 5 years have cost us around $72,257. We offer interpreting services at South Ocala and at Osceola for our deaf and hard of hearing. Those are our hub schools, and feeder pattern for Osceola from South Ocala. And if we were to have a student in any of our other programs, we would address that, but right now those are the 2 programs that we actually hire the interpreters for. And then we had the district training requirements in Canvas. That cost us because our people, when they come in to clock in, they have students. And so in order to meet some of the mandates with the Canvas training that's required, we have to pay them extra to come in and do those trainings. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eubanks. Want to thank the whole team. The program provides a vital need for our community, our families, and so thank you and the team for all the hard work you do in providing those services in a high-quality way. Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. Board, if it's okay with you, I'm going to start first, and then I'll go to additional board comments from there. But as an individual board member, you all know how passionate I am about this program, and thank you to both of you for anticipating the question that I always have asked. So I love it whenever a presentation comes already prepared with the answer. That's terrific. So I want to first stress as a board member that I am in full support as an individual board member of your assistant manager positions also getting on the benefits plan, because I've seen the hard work. There was a time when the managers weren't, and so bringing both of them, I've seen those folks in action. I know how much work they're putting in, and they deserve to be on that, and so I individually am in strong support of that. I want to make a statement that essentially the number of students you have, you operate as the same size as our largest high school, just in 41 different sites. So I think that's important to consider, because we don't necessarily think of Marion after-school programs as 2,800 individual students in 41 different sites, but that's essentially about the same size as our largest high school. So we know the challenges that experience in a large setting, and so I just wanted to stress that. Thank you also for sharing the cost of the ESE MAP program. I know that that has been a conversation that we've seen evolve over the course of the last couple of years, seeing the costs and seeing essentially the loss that you take by providing that where you do. That obviously has to balance out somewhere else, and so costs are across the board. And finally, thank you for the explanation on what we'll be having as questions, and perhaps our team on social media can get ahead of that as well and assist with explaining that early on. So ahead of that start week where parents are going to start seeing those, if we're able to get ahead of that narrative, obviously today is starting that, but the more we can explain that, the more we can have a flyer out, the more we can have even a video, something that explains, you know, this cost, it immediately starts, and I understand the hurricane makeup days and things. I mean, your costs don't change, and that's the way your budget is set up, and I understand that. I also understand that while, even if you attend one day, you still pay the full amount. Also, regardless of the time of day, you pick up the student. So that's a benefit to families that I don't think they often consider. So you certainly can go and pick up your child at 3 or 3:30, but you also can pick up your child at 5:45, and the cost is the same. And so that's something that often we don't consider whenever we're looking at, you're not paying an hourly rate, you're paying a flat rate. And so that is a benefit to families that sometimes isn't considered as strongly. And so when families are potentially stressing about certain amounts, maybe it would help them to run to the grocery store without children for a bit, or just take advantage, I don't want to say take advantage of you, but take advantage of the opportunity for what they're paying for. I think that would put a different perspective in the mindsets of families. I know it has for me from time to time. Yeah, I can pick you up at 3:30, but you know what? Today's a day that you're going to stay. And that has helped me through the years as a parent who has always taken advantage. I'm grateful that my middle schoolers, and now I only have one left, but my middle schoolers have also been able to have it. So they had it all through elementary and then also in middle school. It has been a huge benefit to my family. And so I'm just grateful for all the hard work that you all have done. So I didn't have any questions in there because you already anticipated it. Thank you so much. Board, opening it up to you. Those were all as an individual board member, not speaking as a chair, but you all know how passionate I am about this program as an individual board member. Dr. James.
Thank you for all of the information. I definitely understand this genre, as it is kind of my real job on the outside. So I do have some clarifying questions. I'm glad you clarified the Christmas break, and I think that's definitely the best way to work that. My question is early release days. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as I look at the calendar. Is there going to be an increase in cost of care for early release days?
No, it's a flat rate fee, so no extra cost. And also, our parents receive an outline at the beginning of the school year of every payment that they need to make, and they sign off, and it is outlined. They know exactly when they're going to pay and how much they will pay.
Wonderful. A suggestion I would make from my child care owner hat is I think $10 late fee is absolutely ridiculous. I think it should be $1 a minute, because if you pick up your kid 60 minutes late, you should have the penalty of paying, because we have to pay our hourly employee to stay there to continue to supervise that child. So that would be a suggestion I would fully support. That's what we do at my child care center. It's $1 a minute for every minute you're late. And I personally, I have the discretion. I give all of that money to my employee, because when your employee tries to leave at 6, and then, I mean, you can speak to it, or how often are people past 6 p.m. in our programs?
Oh, nightly.
Yes.
Nightly.
So I will tell you, it is a very effective strategy to get people to pick their children up on time, is when they have to pay $1 for every minute, and it has to be paid before your child returns. It is an incredibly effective strategy to make people pick their children up on time.
It does increase every 15 minutes. It does increase. It's $10 for after 2 minutes. Our system, our new LEO system, will automatically charge that $10 per child. And then every 10 minutes after that, it'll be an additional $10.
Okay. I just think the more aggressive you are with that, the more effective it is. We don't experience an awful lot of late pickups, because, you know, you only got to pay $45 once to realize the importance of showing up on time. So that would be my suggestion there. I want to stress, since I've been on the board since November, we've had at least one individual share about the awareness to a need of a ESE map site on the other side of the county. I think as we continue to flourish our ESE population in Marion Oaks, I'm completely acknowledging that it would not be a fiscally responsible thing to do, per se, but I believe that there is at least the research into how many families would participate at Marion Oaks. They have, I believe, 10 self-contained units now at Marion Oaks, which is our second largest ESE site in our county, second to Hillcrest, of course. Hillcrest and Maplewood, so I guess third largest. And so I would love to be able to meet those families' needs if we can figure out how to make it happen. And so I would be interested in doing a survey of sorts to those ESE parents and see if they would, if offered, would they participate? Would they be able to financially participate? Those kinds of questions to see if it would even make sense, or if it's just one or two families, and unfortunately we won't have the overwhelming participation to make it happen. But I would like to see us at least acknowledge that there's a need, potential need there, and dig into it personally. I think that was all I had. I do know that the ESE sites are not self-funded because of our staffing needs. Oh, my last thing. Most of the employees in MAP are hourly wage earners. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I just want to speak to something Chair Campbell said. When we're closed, and this goes back to your financial summary, kind of 5-year summary. When we're closed, so our first day would be Labor Day, the 4th. We're charging the parents full tuition for the week, but we are only actually having payroll costs for 4 of the 5 days per week for all of the hourly employees. Would that be accurate?
Would be accurate.
Okay, so presumably that helps bolster our net income there, because we're not paying hourly, we're not paying our employees when we're closed.
Correct. The part-time, which
yes.
is a large majority of our department. But we still are incurring other expenses other than just salary as well.
Okay, and then, okay, I think that's all of my questions for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a comment. Yes, thank you, Chair Campbell. I have had the privilege of experiencing and participating with this program as a parent and as a staff member. And I just want to congratulate you on the work that you and your team does. It really is remarkable, the connections and the relationships that your staff build with the students that they serve every day. As a parent, my kids were excited to go to Extended Day. It was always a fun place that they look forward to participating in. As a teacher, I was able to speak with, their teacher after school if I had someone that wasn't doing their homework, or maybe there was something going on at home and I wasn't sure, they needed a little extra attention. Looking for library books, any of those things that come up every single day. And your staff was always more than willing to help. And so I just want to thank you. If you haven't had the opportunity to interact with what goes on at after school, I don't know that you could appreciate all of the things that you are able to do with our students. And it really is an extension of what's going on at school. And I just really appreciate all that you do and that your staff does. Because my kids would leave my classroom and they were excited to really they would get in trouble trying to get to Extended Day with all of the fun and exciting things that you are doing. So just again, thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conrad. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I certainly echo the appreciation from the other board members, and I also 100% support the benefiting of our assistant site managers. I can only wish that our 25-hour-a-week activity leaders, that we might be able to do something for them. We have a recruiting difficulty, everyone does, and finding high-quality childcare at a reasonable price is such a stressor for families. And I know our employees appreciate that 50% discount because of the quality of the services that you provide. And I understand the struggle very intimately as far as serving our students with special needs, especially ones that are high needs, special needs. And I commend the work that's been done over the years to accommodate as many of our high needs kids as we can. I don't know if there is more opportunity. I know at Hillcrest, it's become very common for our special needs paraprofessionals to also serve in MAP, and that has made a huge difference in the students that tend to get, they're very relational. And to have a familiar person with them after school has made the difference in them being able to stay longer, and it's made the difference for parents to be able to continue working their jobs through the end of the day. So as far as opportunities at other schools, especially in the South End, to somehow promote our special needs paraprofessionals, to encourage them, to help in MAP after school, maybe that would help provide the service that these kids so greatly need, because there really isn't much in the community either, especially as they get a little bit older. When they're tiny, it's one thing, but when they get to be older, and especially if they have challenging behaviors, it's just really tough on families. So not sure how that would look. Hopefully our ESE department can come up with some ideas too of how we can help support, because our kids really need it. And not only do they need it, they benefit from it. You see that in their ability to stay on a school campus all day long, and it truly is a partnership. And I was just chatting with the MAP folks at Oakcrest the other day, and I know we're about to lose a gem. Sometimes in 33 years, I think, maybe even longer, long time.
34.
34, yes. And thank goodness she's been training up the assistant site manager, who will now have benefits to step into that role. And so I was really gratified to have that conversation and to learn even more about what everyone really does to serve kids. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, Board, for your comments and support. I appreciate that, and our team appreciates that. And Dr. James, we will do a survey for you and get that information to you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Conrad does have one additional comment.
I have one other question, Ms. Eubanks, that I thought about. I wrote it down. I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. I know that when I was at NH Jones, we had many code reds, code yellows, and sometimes that is a struggle if the administrator was off campus and you that you're working with Mr. Fagin. I just wanted to make sure that you feel comfortable and you're at a good place with where those, when that happens, with the practice drill.
Yes, and we practice monthly for those and log that in. But also we receive response. If I call, I always receive response from Mr. McFadden's office and direction. And then we have a really great rapport with the Ocala PD and the Sheriff's Department as well.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
Thank you. There's no further board comment. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, thank you so much. Ladies, we appreciate you, Ms. Eubanks and Dr. Hembrook, for your presentation. At this time, we have wrapped up our regular agenda items, and we are heading into board member comments and concerns, starting with the board clerk's office. Anything from you, Ms.?
No, ma'am.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Attorney Powers.
No, thank you. Everything's fine with legal so far, so.
Sounds good. We like to hear that. Dr. Gullett?
I do have one additional item I forgot to mention in briefing. I'm excited tomorrow morning to welcome interns into our schools, celebrating them and welcoming them and signing contracts at Forest High School in the morning.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Dr. James?
Committee updates. So a couple things. Fort King. So we used to go to Fort King for an annual field trip in fourth grade before COVID. So we are working on some revitalization efforts. So just yesterday, I was connected. The city emailed me as a follow-up from our meeting last Thursday. I forwarded on to Dr. Livingood and Ms. Riedel to try and create some connections for planning for the summer so that we can get some awesome field trip opportunities back in our schools for next school year, hopefully. We're working on discussing funding sources, neutralizing costs of transportation. We're really trying to have all of the conversations about it so that we can make it most impactful. They're in the process of finalizing their blacksmith shop, and they are going to have a whole blacksmith. I'm not going to butcher it. So it's going to be really cool. And so I would love to see our students get back to going on field trips annually there. We have such an awesome opportunity right in our backyard. Some of our schools almost literally their backyard. So I want to see us get back to that. So we're working on that diligently, and I'm excited to see what we can accomplish this summer. That only meets quarterly now, by the way, just so you know. So that committee only meets once a quarter. As for Mr. Chris at Fesden. So I told the board I would come back every month and update you all with where we are. So Mr. McFadden and I have been working closely with some of our staff on a variety of approaches. So I also visited Fesden last week, and Ms. Newmans and I kind of talked through some things on her campus and just what it all looks like. So we have finalized a public records request so that Mr. Chris can get access to his CUME folder. He was a student in Marion County Public Schools. And one of the hurdles that I have discovered as we began trying to seek alternative funding sources for housing is that we need to be able to document pieces of his history. And so we have completed that public records request information and are going to be putting that forward so that we can get the appropriate documentation to be able to move forward with agencies in our community to seek out the right supports. TLC has been great. They're not necessarily going to be able to be a landing place, but they are more than willing to kind of take under the wing and guide us in this process of trying to find a permanent solution. In addition, Mr. Chris is working on completing his volunteer application to be a volunteer at Fesden. So there is a lot of wonderful tasks that we'll call them beautification efforts that could be completed on a weekly basis at Fesden. And Ms. Newman's is more than not Ms. Newman's. Yeah, Ms. Newman's. Sorry, I was thinking Newsome, but Newman's. Ms. Newman's is more than willing to have him come onto her campus and support in those beautification efforts. To do so, he needs to be an approved volunteer. So we are finalizing his volunteer application process so that he can be a supporter of Fesden inside the gates and potentially offer some benefits there while in the interim of trying to figure out what our next step is. So that is where we are. We should in the next month be able to get the appropriate documentation and be able to move forward with some more understanding of best next steps for him and his housing. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. James.
That's awesome.
Yes, thank you for your work on that. Ms. Conrad.
Okay, I just have a quick list. I am, too, excited about the intern signing tomorrow at Forest High School. I got an invitation from a student I taught in kindergarten, and she's currently interning at Fessenden as a kindergarten teacher, so I'll be there in the morning, and it's one of the best things that's happening to me this week. So I'm super excited to see Emily tomorrow at the intern signing. I wanted to mention that we have a media festival coming up. I believe it's on the 14th. A lot of students and staff members have worked diligently to get these videos completed, so I'm looking forward to participating in that. I just want to send a shout out to our assistant principals. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Words really can't express the workload is large. and there's never enough time. So I just want to say thank you to our assistant principals and all the work that they do supporting students and staff members on campuses. Went to the Bellevue, their title is different. It's the Bellevue Commissioners, City of Bellevue Commissioners Meeting. Sorry, they use all the words. And I learned that if you don't get there right on time, you might miss it. So it was a 25-minute meeting. There were not any educational topics, but I did did get to meet, sat on the board, was a family member of a student from 20-something years ago. So it was great to connect with that group of people. Also an update on the Friends of Veteran Park. I believe that at our last meeting, Shady Hill is performing there on the 22nd. So just want to let you know that would be a great experience and see our kids perform. And they're also a great group of people to work with, and they are working to provide educational experiences at the Veterans Park also. So they're moving in that direction to trying to recover from COVID and everything that was delayed or stopped due to that. Just want to say thank you to the team members that were here today. We had great presentations, great technology presentation, summer school presentation, and our after-school programs. Thanks for all that you do. It takes all of those pieces to make it work. So just appreciate the work that you're doing each and every day. And just also wanted to wish everyone a happy Easter this Sunday. And so I hope that you have time to enjoy and be with your family and celebrate the resurrection. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Ms. Conrad. Vice Chair Thrower.
Thank you. Yes, it's just a great feeling. You know, we've been through a lot of very hard times, and I'm getting the sense that, you know, there's plenty of people pulling on the same side of the rope, and those that aren't pulling are pushing. And that's what's really going to help us gain momentum. I'm excited for our program this summer. I appreciate the teachers and staff that are willing to work and extend their work through the summer. This also goes out to transportation. You know, we know that without having on-time delivery, it makes it pretty difficult to deliver a program. And so we've got our transportation folks, we have paras, we have cafeteria, we have custodial. You know, everyone has to adjust a little bit at those school sites when there's kids on campus, you know, in the summer, because they have summer work that they are expected to also do. So I continue to be very grateful for everyone's focus and efforts to move positively forward. You know, we can certainly keep telling stories about the past, but there's not much we can do about it, you know. I think that if we continue to focus forward and continue to build these partnerships and involving the voices of everyone in the most authentic of ways, then we are going to not only get there, we're going to get there ahead of schedule, and that's certainly, I think, the collective goal. So thank you very much for everything that everyone does.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Board, thank you and staff, thank you for a wonderful work session today, an efficient and effective work session. I do have one quick, sort of a housekeeping item. When I talked to Ms. Boston Ellis yesterday, she asked me specifically about it. So as you are aware, the Florida School Board Association Finance Forum 2.0 is happening next weekend in Gainesville, and it's on Thursday and Friday. I knew that I was going to be unable to attend, and so did not obviously go through our board clerk to try to register for that. But Ms. Boston Ellis did make a note that she did not see any of our Marion County board members on the list, and the only reason she brought that to my attention is because Friday specifically, they're going to be talking about capital funding. And as we know, we have some needs that will be coming on the horizon, and it might be helpful I've attended that conversation before, but honestly, it would be good to have a refresh, and I am unable to attend. So I just ask if any of you board members are able, get with the board clerk's office and see if we can't get one of us registered we don't have to coordinate calendars now. I'm just making that statement if any of you are available to attend. Because it is in Gainesville, it wouldn't require an overnight stay. But beyond that, I second Ms. Conrad's comments. Happy Easter to everyone. I hope you do have the opportunity to celebrate this weekend with your families and honor the resurrection. So with that being said, and no further comments or business, we are adjourned of our work session at 11:42 a.m. Thank you.